come get it. George Floyd, come get it. George Floyd, come get it. It's not just our duty to fight, it's also our duty to win. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stay out here. We're gonna stay on the street. We're gonna keep our boots on the ground. We started protest during the uprising last May, and they haven't stopped since. Have they stopped covering it, the press? Hell yeah! Have we been there the whole time? Hell yeah!
But right now you're all out here to show each other that none of us are alone in this struggle. Look around you. This is your community. These are your people. These are your family members that want justice in this city. These are your people that want to see right prevail. We need to see justice in this city. Derek Chauvin needs to be locked up.
Look what they did to our beautiful downtown. It's a fucking shame, right? They turned this into a war zone. We got barricades, we got concrete, we got barbed wire. Why is there so much fences? Why is there barbed wire? What is this? How do we explain that? How do we explain that someone sat on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 46 fucking seconds and the community is out here trying to do a healing process? The community is out here trying to get justice. And they feel the need to defend themselves from us. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. All we got is $1,400 to cover the last 6, 7, 8 months that we haven't had to work in unemployment. And they're spending $35 million to protect themselves. To turn this into a war zone. To try to intimidate and try to do fear. This is what the fucking problem. The system isn't built to de-escalate. The system is built to keep escalating. This fixing is escalation. This cage is escalation. And there's no healing process that can start while it's still on there.
Live in a world where people who murder civilians go to jail and face consequences. We want to live in a world where cops can't just do whatever they want in our communities. We want to live in a world where cops maybe don't exist at some point. And we want to make that happen by getting control over the police. We want to be able to control what happens in our streets. These are our streets, y'all.
The American descendants of slavery, or black people, in the Constitution were considered 3/5 of a human being. So it's been hard for us to get justice in America's courts. So we're here to demand reparations today. So the Derek Chauvin trial, Derek Chauvin murder trial, is the beginning of transformation in American courts, where the descendants of slavery start receiving justice in America today. Also part of our reparations claim is cessation, which means stop killing us. That's why we say stop killing us. That means that's cessation, which means stop harming us, or harm reduction, but we want harm elimination.
Thank you.
No doubt. So we hope that Lady Justice keeps her blindfold on and weighs the evidence so that we can get justice for George Floyd.
470 murders at the hands of law enforcement, and only one officer held accountable, the minority man that killed the white woman. We know what it is. It's time to call it out for what it is. There's no time for sugarcoating. I call these police departments the Ku Klux Klan with badges on. It is what it is. They threw my son's father, Justin Tigan, in a garbage can, beat him to death. Beat him to death. These are hate crimes that are committed against other human beings. So no matter what your uniform that you wear, when you commit the hate crime, it's still a hate crime. They sat outside my house. They followed me. When Justin was killed, there was no Black Lives Matter. There was no movement because it was swept under the rug. And that's how it's been for the rest of our families. For Hardell Sherrill, Kobe Heisler, Cordell Handy, Marcus Golden, Jafford Smith, Jamar Clark, Travis Jordan, Justin Tigan. But I stand here in representation of all of our families. Of all of our families, so support our families. Stand by our families, because during this time we are hurting. We are re-traumatized. We have to look at a trial that we only wish and pray that our families could get, that our loved ones could receive that same day in trial. George Floyd hasn't even got justice yet, but to even get a trial, most of our families didn't even receive that. And we have to watch this and know that our loved ones never got that day. We have to hear George Floyd's name screamed all over the world when we know that our loved ones died in garbages. When we know that Hardell Sherrill laid on a floor for days and they wouldn't give him the adequate medical care that he needed. But one thing that we will not do during this time, our families will not be quiet. We will be as visible as possible. And we will be out here screaming our loved ones' names. And we ask that you scream our loved ones' names too. Because George Floyd, the only difference between George Floyd and the rest of our families is that they got to the videos with our families. They were able to edit the videos. They were able to destroy the evidence. It spread too fast with George Floyd. It went Facebook Live and they couldn't catch it. If they could have caught that video in time to stop it, they would have stopped it. But see, God wouldn't let them stop it. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And they silenced me for years. Well, guess what? Guess what? I'm done being quiet. When you killing human beings in the middle of the street for no reason, in broad daylight, I'm done being quiet. This is about human life. This ain't no paparazzi scene. I don't want to be out here doing this. I would much rather be at home with my son, but I gotta do what I gotta do.
Here we are over 250 years later, still seeking to bind the deep racial wounds within our country. We are in a state of affairs of our quest to obtain justice and equality, with Minnesota being ground zero of the match that has sparked this outpouring of consciousness for our shared community. We are still here waiting to cash that check that has fallen on a bankrupt system of expedient politicians, administrators, and tolerant allies of the same, in opposition to progress for a more perfect union. For far too long, we have been victims of this plague, and we are here to say no more. No more to policies that divide us based on our diversity. No more to policies that break up families of color. No more to hashtags. No more to policies that put all the eggs in the basket of white imperialism, while paying lip service to communities of color and our never-ending fight for justice. No more to the boots on our necks of our children, our brothers, our sisters, our uncles, our fathers, our nieces, our nephews, our friends, and our future. A saying I came up with was that we need to infect the system with the consciousness. When you go back home today and tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, Remember that it was your conscience that brought you here. It was your conscience that tells you what happened to George Floyd was wrong. It is your conscience that brought you out last summer. It is your conscience that we stand on the right side of history. It is your conscience that helps us support each other. It is your conscience that says that the pain that these families are going through is wrong. It is your conscience that says the boot of oppression is wrong. We all know the system does not have a conscience, and that is why it is our duty to infect it with one. Thank you.
Broad daylight under the knee of a murderous cop. Just like we live in a country that has inside its borders whole nations of people held down under the boot of empire. This country doesn't know equality on any front. Economic, political, education, housing, health, nothing is equal here. Am I right? And the powers that be, they want us to believe that's just the way it is. It's like gravity, daylight, like it just happens. We have to live like this, they say. That we have no choice but to sit by and watch our beloved community members die by our enemies' hands. Well, I say to hell with that. Are you okay with that? No. Hell no. We got this far, here today hoping these courts will deliver justice for George Floyd only because we fought for it in the streets of Minneapolis and every major city in this country and in every country on this planet. We said, hell no, the murderous cops have got to go. And we are here today because justice begins with the conviction of Derek Chauvin and then the convictions of his 3 accomplices. But the justice we really seek is so much more than just the convictions of killer cops. Let's fight for self-determination for the African American nation, whose ancestors built this country with stolen labor. We uphold the sovereignty of indigenous nations, including the right to control their land and natural resources. We say let's cut off the stranglehold of empire wherever it tries to reach, in this country and beyond. And while we're at it, let's bring an end to an economy that is organized around profit and greed and exploitation and build a socialist society that provides for the needs of our people. And we are not the only ones ready for a change. The uprising to demand justice for George Floyd was a sign of things to come. We're not willing to live in the old way anymore, are we? Hell no.
Mr. Oppressor, I know you think of me as lesser, so I'm here with my friends. Not to make amends, but for you to tell us. Tell us, why don't you understand that Black Lives Matter? Is that so hard to conceptualize? I mean, damn, this world when the media got a hold on your mind. Amnesia must got the best of you, cause that look in your eyes, it's so reminiscent of cabinet members who keep their prejudice in disguise. Blank stares to hide the guilt from the blank stares you put in our face to keep us from a place where you can tell us. Tell us, why is it so hard for us to get here just to have a conversation? It takes all these protests and you pass facetious laws talking about civil unrest just to mask that footage from your frivolous vest, Mr. Oppressor. What is it that you take us for? Will you tell us? Tell us, why does black bother you? I say Black Lives Matter, you say all, or change it to blue. You take us for fools. You send out your rats telling us manipulated stats to dispute the fact you break our backs for this country we built, cause we did that. So it's no more ignoring, snoring. Wake that ass up, big fella, we said no justice, no peace. And I need y'all to say that last half with me. No justice! No peace! No justice! No justice! And that's what the fuck we mean. 2020, no coincidence that year coincides with perfect vision. Every month we were going through something different. Something that exposes more and more that white men were the only ones in mind when initially creating this system. It's not broken. It's functioning just how you meant it. But that don't mean that it doesn't need fixing. Unity and love in numbers is power. We have to use what we got, and I'm gonna say it again because I want to make sure y'all hear. Unity and love in numbers is power. We have to use what we got. Because in the words of the paramount, Miss Asada Shakur, ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop. Say it with me. Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't. Let him hear you. Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't. One more time. Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop. And that is all I got. Thank you.
If you remember in the 90s, when Rodney King was brutalized and assaulted by cops, you thought a certain thing. You said that's not right. And for all the brothers and sisters, non-binary and trans out here that saw that, you felt something. And then when them cops got off, you felt something else. And then when you were sitting in the principal's office or in detention for no damn reason, you felt something else. And then when you saw your white classmates do the same thing as you and get away with it, you felt something else. You were traumatized by that event. And let me tell you something about this building right here. It is undoubtedly going to affect every single black youth in this state. We want justice so our black kids know love. Know that they are kings and queens without being told that. We want justice so your white kids grow up knowing better. I want your white community to do better. And I want them to give us justice so your white community understands what it is. Now I understand colonizers came in here and built these buildings and gave all these rules out. Because let me tell you something. This isn't Derek Chauvin on trial. This is the value of a black life. What's on trial is the value of a black man's life. And I don't need the Hennepin County Government Center to let me know if I'm valuable or not. The verdict can go either way. I know that Black Lives Matter, and that's a bare damn minimum. Black lives are loved. Black lives are sung. Black lives are appreciated. If you got some melanin in you, I need you to put your fist up. This is one of the toughest states, the worst states in the country for racial disparity in education, employment, and law enforcement. And the reason this shit doesn't change is because folks don't talk about it. But you out here making a statement because the conversation is over. We out here marching.